Hey guys, we are back in for some fun in Space Engineers tonight, offline in the single-player world. Actually picking up right where I left off here with the last update parody video that I filmed, complete with Red Farrell's little interloper ship sitting right here, looking down on me, ready to fire. Unfortunately, tonight's stream is going to be a little shorter than usual. I've got to cut it off at about an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, and part of that is because, unfortunately, I have a major systems upgrade to do tonight, which, at work, of course, which means I've got to be ready to basically kick that off with some help of my colleagues, and will not be able to do the normal full 3-4 hour stream. So I figured I would come and spend a little bit of time on the underground base here, and you guys have kind of seen little bits and pieces of this over a long time here, you know, starting off with kind of the destroyed base and then me kind of going back and refurbishing it. I'm also running this outside of the mod SDK, which is why it's a little brighter in here than normal. I've kind of found that it works a bit better as far as getting stuff put in place, and then I can load up in the mod SDK, assuming I can never get it working again. It's not working right now. And start thinking about turning things down a little bit. I have, that's that there. I've put a lot of attention into this half of the base so far in building. I mean, all the way from the very entrance of the base here, such as it is, which is apparently missing a bunch of grids all of the sudden. Well, ain't that just interesting? I had to pull back. This is not... Huh. Well, that's unexpected. Well, this is supposed to be where the entry of the base is, complete with... In fact, the whole entry grid is missing. There's a whole area of catwalks that's supposed to be in this spot here, and lots of lighting, which is now also gone. Yeah, that is an entire grid shot, which was here the last time I loaded this world. And to be honest, I would suspect part of the problem, if I go into take a look at things, is probably let's see if I can get here. No, I'm not going to find it there. I suspect part of the problem is just the sheer number of blocks I have on this world. Far outstrip anything that I should be doing, logically speaking. And I got that detail up there. Tire... Huh. That is bizarre. The biggest problem I've had is trying to keep all of these grids together but separate, and I mean at this point I think now I know that's linked into a grid. That used to not be. But just to give you an idea of what's going on, that's supposedly only 4,802 PCO. It should be much higher than that for up here. Did I somehow get an old version of the world, or did I grab something by accident here? Same PCU, that definitely is not right. I think right off the bat, without having to even try, I may have broken Space Engineers. Like that. Over here. What are you showing? That's more like it. It's a bigger grid. Wow, what did I do? The only thing I did recently in this world is over here I did take out some overhead lighting. But that's all I did. Apparently I'm gonna have to rebuild the entire entryway here, because this should all be... I mean, you can even see there's some grids in here that were in place on the wall that are still there. Oh, that whole room's been taken out. That one's been taken... No, this is the... It's the original entryway, so that's all gone. Wow, did I lose the door up in the top? Because that was a pain in the butt to place. Yep. Keen. Break giveth and you breaketh immediately. Okay, so I guess I'm going to be doing that this episode, and not so much working on this side of the base. Because I don't think... It takes about a good 10 minutes to load this world on a good day sometimes. Let's do this. TF. Because legitimately, WTF. Aha! That would be the voxel bug. At least I'm pretty sure that's the, or at least a new form of the voxel bug. Let's see what we got here. Nope, nope, nope. Blue Feral, because Red Feral's the destroyed base. So if I absolutely have to, I can go back to Red Feral and grab a copy of the original setup. So I guess we're going to be reloading this. This took a while on the first time. There's definitely something up with Space Engineers and mod loading right now, and I don't know if it's Steam or Space Engineers, which either one is at fault needs to get fixed, because, I mean, if you watch the Engineer Core episode yesterday, the first 45 minutes were all of just all the problems trying to connect into the worlds, and most of those problems that if you go into the Space Engineers log for, it basically is the game refusing to download the mod. It shows the connecting to server screen on top of the downloading mods window, but this times out. Something about this goes wonky and it likes to park itself here. And in that short little time, someone changes something on the server, and the server says, no, 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 everything's changed, go away. And then you get disconnected, but you don't get disconnected, and 10 seconds later, when it picks back up here, the game says, oh yeah, I can load you in now. And the server says, no, no, you're not here, go away. And the game says, no, I'm here, I'll hang out and wait for you. And the server just goes off and does its own thing. At least that's the best way I can figure this out. I am not exactly sure what specifically is broken in all of this, but there's most definitely something rotten in the state of Keenmark here. So how are you guys doing tonight? Hopefully you have, well, I mean, it is a Monday. What can you do? That is what Mondays are, and hopefully you guys are chilling out and kind of recovering a little bit. Worst case scenario is, if this doesn't look like it's going to work out or stay stable, the other thing I can also do is play a little bit in a ship that you guys have not seen yet, and is... I'm not talking like a small... It's a small grid, but it is not a small ship either. And it's something that was a collaborative build, and to date has not shown up anywhere else. Alright, so it's picking up where I loaded and not showing me the world. Thank you, Keen. So if I turn around, there's the fighter ready to fire. Alright. Got that overhead grid in place. I don't dare do any more vox. You can see, even though the voxels are crooked here, I don't dare do any more voxel work down here because this base takes forever to load the textures on, and inevitably, yep, still broken. Okay. Wow, thank you, Keen. All the blocks that are in here are legit. There's vanilla blocks in here, there's armor ramp blocks in here. Everything that goes up into here is armor, is vanilla blocks, except for a couple of the custom doors. But, yeah. Something is significant. Yeah, let's see if I can save it this time. Let's see if we can find out here. What is the computer doing right now? Survey says Space Engineers is taking up 6 gigs of RAM, 100% of my GPU, basically, aside from the tiny little fraction saved for streaming, and or 100% of my GPU, I should say. 32% of my CPU to render a blank wall and 2 things sticking out of it because you've eliminated all the grids here. They are gone. Placing this back is going to be a downright pain. Huh. But yeah, right here is, and the funny thing is these are hinged conveyor blocks that were normally up at about this height here, built into, actually, no, I'm missing cargo containers here. That's the other thing I'm missing. Extra large cargo containers are supposed to be all along this wall, because this is all basically a sort of refinery drop-off point, basically. It's just, well, right now it's kind of mocked up. And the machinery back here is also gone. What else am I missing on this world, potentially? No, I am... No, those are there and normal. That's right. The structure under there is good. All of the wall decorations are there still. Is this still in place? Not gonna open for me? Well, interior-wise, it still looks good. Still got the azimuth reactor. We still have that. Ships are all still here. This was actually something one of the few surviving blueprints I have from 2015, back before I gave up on SC for a while. It was a heavily modded survival series ship way back in the day. It's not 100% because there are a lot of mods that I just don't have anymore. Like, I do have the window there still. Okay. Just various little mods, like, for instance, I didn't have the compact solar panels on here for a while, but that's what I used to do for a large ship design way back in the day. The building's there. What about what's in the building? Is that still... So these cargo containers can survive even though they're from the same mod. I believe they're from the same mod. Alright. Passageways all survived. Just can't help but love running around everything here. That's the Scrapworks non-uncooperative survival version I did there. That's something I built on the BB1 multiplayer server and spawned in. I'm missing a ton of greebling back in here. I'm not supposed to be able to see the wall through that. There's supposed to be something else behind this. So this has, yep, this has lost a lot of detail in there. I don't think it's a distance issue. Well, actually, that's a good question. Let's see if I can place something where I know that there is most definitely a block. That would be building right off the end of this thing and down. Or even just over here. There's a whole level of detail that's supposed to be present on this wall. You are acting a little wonky there. That's not the right grid placement there, but it's almost... Yeah. This is where there are most definitely blocks in the area that's I'm building there. There are definitely blocks there because this was all part of the structure kind of holding up the rock above that entrance. Well, I can either take this as a sign that either I have finally pressed this particular world to its breaking point. Amusingly enough, actually, this is, just to give you another sneak peek, the world I'm actually filming on is indeed, where is it here? Hey, what do you know? That looks like a strangely familiar ship. And that looks almost like a completely unidentifiable blob from orbit. Wow, that's great texturing work there, Keen. Yeah, this is the, it is the group survival map that is out there on the workshop, and yep, that's the original Constitution. This was the little mining ship I was going to use on a survival series with this, or at least a non-armed and then an armed variant, which they don't work out all that well, honestly. And the whole idea was they were built to fit inside of the dock underneath the Constitution. Because it's the one spot on all of the establishing shots that you'll see in Group Survival. To completely stop and restart the ship to even move that one. It's the one shot on all the establishing shots I've seen on the series where I could hide a ship and not have not have it immediately noticed as missing, because there is a mining ship that comes with the Connie, and it's not included in the it's not part of the survival series. But I figured, oh, you can do that, and then when the Connie blows, then the Huggabee gets shot off on a random trajectory. So that was my plan for kind of side loading into the group survival series, but I've kind of abandoned that whole idea. But yeah, I think the rest of this stuff all exists in here pretty much. I don't think I went through and... What's the other thing? If it's... Really break down the... Okay, no, that's the core inside of the base. For some reason... So I've got all of these split up into the various subgrids. And this was the last thing I added before I filmed the update parody setup. So it's definitely there, but... What am I missing? Kind of behind the scenes look at some of the stuff I've done. I mean... Hang on, teleport here. Probably, yeah, I've probably screwed myself over because now I'm in the wall. Now I'm outside of the wall. Thank you, space engineers, for letting you actually materialize a player character in solid rock. But yeah, it is definitely gone. There's no doubts about this. It's not like it's shot up anywhere or shot down anywhere, and when I load the world in, it's not like you even hear, like, lots of clanging or anything that it would have just instantaneously self-destructed. So, WTF indeed at this point. Yeah, the file has to absolutely be screwed up at this point. You are right, Kevin Grazier. I suspect, honestly, what I probably have done is I probably have hit some sort of major internal limit to what the game can pull off. Because this should be the largest grid I've gotten. It's telling me 1,321 blocks. Actually, there's the telltale proof right there. This is... No, that's the back... that's backlighting rig. Let me switch back over here, get out of the wall so I can actually see what's going on. That's better. There is... Because I had detail all along that side of the wall there too. Kept the thrusters, but that's it. Kept those ships, but not anything else. Huh. Okay. Isn't that interesting? I wonder what happens if... yeah, sure, whatever. You're not going to save it because you're going to claim it. Uh-huh. Yep, you do not want to save that world. And then you immediately quit out. Oh, that's lovely, Keen. It's really helpful. Let's load Red Farrell's world here. This one should be a bit better off, and actually I don't believe I've loaded it since the multiplayer update. I could be wrong. Oh, what the heck is this? Well, I'm wondering if what I'm seeing right now is the same exact thing that's going on with multiplayer right now, except without the server loading screen on top of it. Because this is a first one. The problem, Chris F., I don't know if, has Toolbox been updated to the new world format specifications? I mean, really, in all honesty, I pretty much know what I'm going to find when I go into that file. And what I'm going to find is that stupid little, that bug where the file names have just been appended to some ridiculous length. And it likes to happen on this world every now and then, unfortunately. But this is a new one. Let's take a quick look here. Oh, there we go. If I alt-tab out of it, now it decides to pick up again. Thank you, Keen. What the heck is going on? Ay, ay, ay. What did they do? Space Engineer showed me the bad places that Keen touched with that last update, because good grief, it's gotten worse. Oh yeah, I know I'm gonna have funky stuff going on in the warnings on this. This whole world is not an this is the stress test for space engineers as far as I'm concerned. Because the amount of voxel digging alone is enough to destabilize a multiplayer server, I suspect, if I put this up on a dedicated server. Just the sheer amount of that going on is bad enough. Now you add to that all of the grids that I'm putting in, and I'm using grids embedded in the rocks left, right, up, down, and center. Then you get this setup. And this is how you really potentially break space engineers, because this is the wrecked version of the world. Way back before I had, you know, you can see that's how much I've been putting in over the last year and a half on details. You know, that ship is now over here and intact. There's whole ships over there. All of the pillars have been repaired. There's a whole landing platform that's not even there in this version. The Mikara blueprint that's in here. That gives me one of my favorite places to actually film in Space Engineers, right here. When you're doing it in the mod SEK version and you don't have glaring spotlights going on. And look what's missing in this version. Entry tunnel. Actually, let's just do it this way. If I abbreviate the heck out of it, I might get one save out of it. And it looks like I did. So, something is going on with this entire entryway grid between when I tested this on the multiplayer beta tests and now. Well, 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 well. Isn't that lovely? Huh. Well, that kind of goes to shoot pretty much all my plans out of the water, because I don't want to work on this version of the world. This is definitely not going to stick around, because I started building it wrecked, and then I realized it makes more sense to build it up and build it intact and then wreck it. But if I can't work with the wrecked version, that is a bit of a problem. Well, that's a half-hour loss to that. Thank you oh so much, Keen. What the heck did they do? Alright, let's take a look then at what I was going to show you in the last few minutes of the stream. I guess we will have to abort and retry and ignore any failures that come up. I know this world does load. It loads intact because I loaded it before the stream started to make sure it was actually intact, and I had some minor tweaks I needed to make to it. I could be doing better, Jam. I mean, that was there's a lot of work that went just into the entryway of that particular map. You know, the whole tunnel down and everything, and including, you know, I've got footage that was filmed to fit that tunnel very nicely for an animation. So, coming in and finding that now it's broken, and not like in a way that it's broken, but completely missing from the world, that's a little nasty surprise. I'm not gonna, if I really run out of time, I might go through and just kind of take a look at the SBC file and see if I can find out if it's, well, actually, what is going on, if anything. The grid should still be in there, presumably, but maybe the game's just not loading it, or maybe there's something, a glitched mod on that map. The only thing I can think of that's part of that would be, I could go down and check the other end of the map, because the Catwalks are on that map, or in that section. There are some grids down at the other end that would include those as well. Actually, no, I think they're still there because they were... No, I didn't look up either, and they're part of the grid work around the farms and everything. And... Keen, I loaded this world perfectly fine. I set up this world with a... Oh, there we go. Okay, thank you for finally deigning to render in the blocks, Keen. You can tell there's already something going on here because... that... Reset your stupid... That's with post-proc off. What skybox am I running on this thing? This goes beyond space just got real to space just got black, man. Alright. Enough of that then. We'll do what we can do here. This is a world that has a collaborative build that is something that Entity and Mr. Wasted Space and I all worked on. And this in here is basically what we worked on, such as it is with the graphics corruption on those thrusters that still, or the missing texture has still not been fixed after years. This does have a name, and that name had to be stripped from it. So I am actually in the process of kind of looking for a new name for this thing. The back end, if you can't tell, is purely the fins here are purely a wasted creation there. Entity was working on a lot of this central section here, which is missing some things as well. I thought I had the cargo pods in here. Maybe they're not. This is also a world that unfortunately suffered very heavily from a lot of the... Way back when I was announcing, oh, these mods have been destroyed, or have been lost, and now that they're destroying worlds because of it. This is one that was hurt pretty bad. The good news is this loading door in the front actually does work again. It was suffering from a level of detail bug that when the door was closed would render it as open if you got far enough away. And it looks, well, considering I can't see the front of the ship right now because there's not enough lighting in this world. Yeah, there's got to be something going on there. Either way, cargo ship built off of what was, once in its life, a military ship. So we have a forward hangar bay going on here. This used to be, I'm trying to think of the name of it. It was a different catwalk from one of the really grungy packs that was out there. That when the witch left, the packs kind of went with them pretty much. We've retrofitted that with storage cubicles along the side. Really does look much better when you have your lights off walking around here. And that should work still. Hey, something still works. And it actually fully works. Holy crap, something's working in Space Engineers. Alert the authorities! Obviously, small ship mods on here because, you know, you want to have a little bit of functionality going on. Especially working in little oddball blocks like, you know, the non-traditional assembler there. There's 70 mods on this world, so I know I'm not going to be able to name all of these right off the bat. These guys over here, they're blast door blocks that actually look pretty good when you just set them in the wall like that normally. And I don't believe I can't open them from here, but they've got lights set behind them and a wall back there. This was a little after the Passage mod came out, so of course there was much made of playing around with various aspects of it here. So it's more or less designed to be airtight capable, not turned on because it would kill the world right now. And we can come down over here to some very basic crew accommodations here. Not much of any accommodations really. It's a very basic setup, like the look of the small ship scale O2 farms so that, you know, a little bit of an accent there and everything. Nice little window to overlook the catwalk for where the cargo would be to the left and right. If I go down here, functional ladder and access to the back catwalk through an airtight door, of course. Because I like these compact doors much better. The nice little party piece of this, hopefully it is still working. Aha, here we go. Catwalk pistons. Should retract that nicely. Yes, that is a grid. This is all Entity's handiwork down here. He's managed to get all of these pistons hooked up to, and it actually works. It doesn't actually glitch out the ship. All things that you could kind of expect. Catwalk, no, that was catwalk off. Put it on. Okay, then it's the landing gear. I want to do that properly when I show you guys, because there's a little piece de resistance on here of mine. These are thrusters actually from the inside that poke throughout the bottom of the ship. These are actually, I don't know why the launcher. Okay, the torpedo mod must be screwed up here then. These are actually here to let you fire a torpedo out through the doors, because a small grid launcher, you know, a small grid torpedo actually fits out this way pretty nicely. So that would be something left over from the ship's military days there. That could have been very easily retrofit back in. And down here is a door, and are you kidding me, Keen? You actually have it there still. Okay. You might be thinking, okay, so it's a, you know, it's an airlock pointing straight down with a drop, you know, ladder that you can drop. Well, what I did, let's go back inside here. Do it from the inside and then do it from the outside so you guys can actually see what's going to happen. That is, let's see, do we want everything? I believe that should do this. If it's still set up right. You'll see down there, the platform is just rotated into position. We can get on. Then, I believe, I don't think I have the entire sequence fully wired out yet. Gear close, gear cover. Aha, gear cover piston. That then lowers the gear down to, presumably, the planet's surface of wherever you're going. So, you could basically disembark the ship this way, and you'll see that in addition to triggering that, it's also triggered a collapsible landing gear system here. So if I pop up over here, I can show you guys this from the outside. Landing gear, piston, that's the camera. All right, let's see if that works. This is all supposed to be fully automated, to the point where the gear will come down and the cover will close on its own. But it looks like Mr. Game is saying, no, I don't have that set up properly. Let's see if... Let's see, I can tap for... Thruster... Not put anything there to do this with. Well, annoying to try to show you this to you guys properly then. Let's get spectator camera in position here. So hopefully I can actually show you guys what's going on here. So, back and forth. Board gear open, cover timer, trigger. Alright. Let's see if this is going to work. Which... Nope, that's not... Okay, there it is. Does work. Okay. It doesn't... I nailed the timing on this way too close. So you think, oh, that's going to swing into the gear, and the gear are like, heck no, we're going to be out of the way. Just barely. Timing on that is actually a little off. And then that should... I don't believe I actually have it set to bring the pistons up yet. In order to do that, I need to... There we go. So... For something like this, it's designed to be entirely transparent. You know, it's designed to hide it as best as I could with what you can do in Space Engineer. So the gear folds up mostly out of the way. You know, of course, obviously, your mileage may vary. The idea was if this ever got into like a series or something, there would be a fixed gear version that you could safely land on, and you would just have the camera angle set so you wouldn't actually see the fact it was indeed fixed gear. You can tell from the PvP streaks alone, yeah, definitely. But it's a really fun ship to play around in, and I've only shown you like a little bit of it. You know, some of the bottom deck, and that's really it. There's a lot more to this place that I haven't gone into yet. Alright, so let's pop back through our door here into the sealed section. This was where the crew quarters were. In addition to the crew quarters, we also have a treadmill. And yes, that's a working, honest-to-God treadmill. And the funny thing is that you can barely see the running animation there. It produces a fair amount of power to the point where I kind of... Let's see what it says it's doing right now, if it says anything. It's a little OP of a mod, because this thing in its early day was capable of providing enough power to move the ship. Not so much anymore, I suspect, but it's still kind of a little funny. That's the thing. There's a covered catwalk along both of the connector, you know, both the lanes of the cargo bay. The whole idea is back in its military life, this was probably where you had some drop pods and whatnot, and other armaments and what, you know, stuff kind of in there. So this is a bit of a protected area of the ship. If we come back to here, we will find ourselves out looking over a bit of a hangar bay. This has been sealed in, so that way this walkway is actually now pressurized, complete with half slab stairs on the way up to the upper level. We're not going to go forward just yet. We're going to kind of continue along the back, because it is a little bit of a maze to get around the ship, because you can cross over the cargo gangway and come inside the hangar bay, and then there's stuff back there, and it's one of those little ships that's very easy to get lost in. We've got some basic shield generators over here, providing just enough shield power to keep it in one piece. We have a side path here, which leads further aft. Comes out in this little access area here. Trying to remember where everything is again, because now I'm completely... Alright, I'm aft mid-deck right now. So you drop down into this area with a little overlook room on the other side of the ship. Small ship med bay. Works pretty nicely. Some spare seating, because, you know, you can never have enough around the med bay. That goes forward into the hangar and is difficult to get to that side unless you go down that ladder there. So basically kind of a hydroponic section back here, including a potted plant, just because, you know, why not? That goes into the mid-deck hangar, rear hangar, I should say. Let's see. Let's just go ahead and open all the hangar doors, because I can't remember which ones are which. It has been a while since I've played around on this world. You can see the doors here are actually lined outside, inside, and with the hangar doors there. Let's see if I've got a button out here for that. Entity, we never put a button out here for this. This was like one of the party pieces of this particular ship. So you can see the hangar doors close, and then the inside covers actually pull into place over it, which is a really cool effect. It's something that is really fun to pull off with this particular mod. There's our aforementioned access to the cargo areas up front. All the little control buttons here to actually deal with the pistons and the catwalk lighting and everything. Looks a bit tamer now, actually. Almost feels like the spotlights have lost a bit of their glare. We should be able to close up that door as well. Just love that effect. And as far as protection goes, it's actually not too bad. It's up pretty well. We've got the idea was this is kind of your landing area, cramped as it is, with the walkway passing up above here. But then you've got the... oh, that's interesting. I'm not getting that block is not rendering the shadow properly. Lovely. Good job, Keen. Back here would be kind of your work base, so you could seal up something, project you were working on here, and still be able to, bring in and out vessels there. We proceed back here onto the lower deck. You'll see that this is kind of the makeshift armory here, complete with a working, presumably, loading ramp. Did I not leave a button for you here? Come on, Gravity, let me go. These are all indeed actually wired up hydrogen tanks and everything, using alternate conveyor blocks. They don't actually go anywhere, I believe. They're just wired to each other. But they look cool when they're set up like this, so that's all that really matters. Actually, no, they are wired in. I did wire them up to O2 generators at the front. Okay. It's always a toss-up of how much is actually functional on this ship and how much is not. So that takes us down to here, and I really don't know what I was planning with this particular section of the deck, but I was planning something apparently. Those landing gear are indeed fixed. There's not really enough room to build in the rotor work there necessary. Back into the ship, including the hangar doors that are closed from the outside. A little bit of a view up further onto the top of the ship. This was all some early on agreeable work from my end. All along the back through here. Lots of use of armor ramps. I absolutely love the armor ramps. Some basic weapons in place. Just lots of little stuff all over the place on this ship. We're not done yet. No. We are still moving along. How many blocks PCU? Oh, geez, that is a good question. I haven't looked at it since... Well, actually, keep in mind, this is a heavily modded ship. And even despite that, 77, almost 78,000 PCU. Over 4,000 blocks on this thing. With 186 thrusters, 375 lights, 14 spotlights, a gravity generator, and to also give you an idea of what's going to take to move this thing, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of gyros. You do see there's a very high 370 odd count for these things. It's a bear to move this thing. Anyways, we're back up here at the med bay, and there's some seating outside there and an airlock door here. Let's take a look and see what we put on the back end of this sucker. And, well, yeah, by this point, Eddie and I were getting kind of a little goofy with some of the things that we were doing. So we've got a cow skull there. We break for nobody. A couple other bumper stickers here. The other ship is Defiant class. Bless this rack. The whole idea was this, the little grill over here, the thruster, hydrogen thruster, and the block, because I've got block damage turned off on this world. Just there to make it look like this was really kind of the back porch of the ship. This is where you go to relax, and you come out on the back porch, you have your beer, you look at the sunscape going on, maybe toss the fishing rod, see if you can pull in a little bit of space debris. No, I'm kidding, not that much, really. Yeah, that's getting a little too redneck. Back into the lower bays down there. Lovely pod engine assembly that Wasted set up there. And two little, what I kind of figured would probably be drone bays set up here. They're accessible through a cutaway here. Annoying trying to get this set up properly, but it did work out. Complete with the pillars on the inside there to get a little bit of extra detail out of it. We entered back into the ship here. That is the med bay down there and the hydroponics bay down there. Overlooking that, and we can go over this way. We never did finish lighting some of these areas. And enter back into the ship proper. And this is going to enter into the main engineering bay, which is a boatload of... I think I probably spent about a half hour greebling all this together and making it work right. So just getting all the lighting in place, getting the modules down here. Having the small ship mod actually pays off. because a lot of the stuff that you can put in just works beautifully in here. So you get these little doodads and whatnot on the walls, and tanks and stuff that you don't see normally in the game. Power distribution there. This is the other side of the area where we saw the shield generators previously, complete with some more oddball greebling on the inside here. Works out pretty well. Yeah, she really does require this many azimuth reactors to move. But she still handles herself pretty well. Tiny little bit of a window out the back there so you can kind of see out, but otherwise, just like a very skeletal setup here. Thrusters coming down to the walls and everything. Come back into the main body of the ship here, and let's take a look at the upper decks here. So right off the bat, we have a lovely shooting range here, and I believe I can demonstrate how that looks. There, and I think we had this set up properly. Yeah, there you go. It just kind of worked out really nicely as this kind of weird little bench to do firing from, and made it really easy to also place yourself for the shot and everything as far as doing filming. I can't complain about that. I thought that looked pretty good. Let's see what we got here. Vanguard was the original name for this ship, and it is not going to be the name of the ship at this point, because that name is potentially being used elsewhere, and out of respect for that other use, I'm not actually using it on this one. Lots of neat stuff that you can do with the floors, especially with the passage mods, because they give you a pretty decent texture to build off of here, and just filler blocks and everything. That's our shooting range. The other thing is also it really was designed to kind of feel like this had almost a bit of a 747 start. This is probably one of the first pieces that I kind of hacked together here, and thought turned out really well. Not 100% conforming with the slope, but with the armor armor ramps, you get pretty close. It's not that far off, and when you're filming from far away, you don't really see it. Nice lit corridor down the far side here. Perfect spot for the ship's name. That obviously needs to go back in at some point with a new name. The commanding officer's quarters. This is just a nice little small tiny suite with the bed, some basic storage, and maybe potentially a still or two. Because, just a little nip of the dog, little hair of the dog that bit you. Further up, we've got crew mess, because the rest of the crew lives downstairs. This is the crew mess area. Again, not much. Basically, sort of wedged in between furniture. It's not really ideal for filming, but especially because of that light change, I really do need to kind of play around with the LCDs, turn down the brightness, and play around with some other stuff. But it works. It kind of has a tendency to, depending on where you're standing, change all sorts of different weird hues with the update. A bit more of the mess hall area here, so you've got the fridge kind of sitting out there, so you can have a buffet in here basically, and that's about it. The rest of it's out here. And then the main bridge itself. This is something that took a little while to greeble together. Basically, that and trying to find displays too. I need to really switch over to using the sci-fi LCDs on this thing. But all sorts of oddball little things here and there. Definitely see the impact that you can tell that this was made much long after we had my train of thought here, before they changed bloom in the game. That's how old this actually is. So a lot of these LCDs just don't work properly. That's way overblown at the dither, but that used to be pretty darn good before then. We've got a basic helm seat here, complete with all of the displays you could possibly want, and not enough programming blocks to drive them all, possibly. But this would probably be where I would work in, various oddball things like I worked in on the Come on, brain. I'm completely losing that train of thought. The thug replacement. I can't think of the name of all of a sudden. Engineering console over here. So again, it's an idea of you've got something right in front of you to work on. So it looks a bit more realistic and you can watch the displays and everything, but still kind of get your eye around and see some of the other stuff going on the bridge. This was tactical, I believe. Or is going to be tactical. So you've got some extra displays on the right side that you can actually kind of see. And again, line of sight to the engineering area, the pilot, captain, some of those back displays, some more use of the blast doors up in the ceiling there, you know, because you could just turn them and they look actually pretty nice. And then, of course, the captain's chair. And from here you can kind of see pretty much everything going on except the displays right behind you, but that's not too big of a loss. And then, of course, the captain doesn't really get a programming console, but he does get a little bit of at least a status readout down here that he can consult to see what things are doing there. Off to the side, pretty basic setup, because, you know, they had to go somewhere. And again, not very well lit in here, but that was the only place I could cram that in. It, really tight working on these ships, but it, you know, it was really also nice having the whole working on this kind of set on this scale and level of detail that you're able to put into it. I definitely do enjoy having that as an option. And this over here goes down and brings us back out right at the front cargo bay here. So she's got enough room to hold a little moderate shuttle in here. And then the mid-deck where you would basically kind of keep a shuttle, a cargo craft permanently docked. Potentially more space in the mid-deck or the aft hangar bay there. And if you're really desperate, you could load some stuff up in the back here and potentially even on the back porch if you kind of tied it down well enough. So that is what this looks like. A pretty basic... I mean, it's, for what it is, for, you know, all small grids, it's not too bad, but you guys want to know, how's she going to actually handle? There's a reason why I am not suggesting that we bring this in on PvP. It's wonky because of the entry there. Okay, there we go. Should be able to... You thought she was going to handle like a snail, didn't you? No, she actually is fairly maneuverable, and should be, with the amount of gyros I've got on this thing. I mean, that's a full-out gyro roll there. And you can hear it's just stuff snapping loose. I'm sure that's probably the cargo bay walkway at that point. Right? Because I don't have anything locked at this point on this design. In fact, the door is sitting wide open like that. Yeah, it held together that. What were you flinging around making doom noises for? I mean, let's be honest. She's got enough engine thrust out of this thing that she should be darn quick, but... Let's see if we can... There you go. I'm firing... That's slowing down, and I'm also thrusting to the left full there, so not the greatest, but the turn on her makes it much easier. You do have to do quite a bit of mouse work in some areas to get this to turn properly. Where is my station? Over there. All right. She's definitely one of those ships that you kind of have to get moving before you can turn her, though. This is where having an extra long mouse mat comes in very handy. Moving this ship. Cause holy moly. There we go. Almost there. Okay, got a course for it. I don't want to miss out on that space dock either, because that was just something I threw together just randomly one day, and it just worked out surprisingly well, and it's only one mod on that dock. Everything else is kind of vanilla on the space dock, except for this one mod that I found. It's actually part of a large grid curved block mod, basically. It's actually part of a... kind of see a little bit of the curve in the sections there on the sides where the various pieces are at. Just getting out of here now is also challenging. Come on. Round, out. There we go. So the space dock itself, which it looks a lot better when you can properly light the thing. It is currently not properly lit at the moment. Did I give myself... There we go. That's what I was missing. I was wondering why the ship looked that dark. It didn't have the space dock lights on. That looks so much better now. So these aren't actually light sections here. What I'm doing is I'm simulating it with just all of the other different lights I've got in here. So I've got lights down the spine there. And I believe, did I put any... I think if I managed to wind up... You can see I'm fully lit here without needing to have the spots on. And let's, for the sake of expediency, stick something on so I can fly this thing from outside. Ship is too big. If I walk, the movie will be over. Really? Here, that's the passenger seat I just put down, isn't it? Yep, that's not gonna work. Cockpit, thank you. So there we go. Very responsive for a ship this size, compared to what you typically see for small ship gone wild approaches. I mean, that's how willing I am to bomb around in this thing at this point, is... Well, that and knowing I've got a shield generator on board, too. Now that she's sitting in dock, she probably looks a bit more tipped the wrong direction. Let's fix that, please. Hatch getting closer. There you go. That's looking a bit more like it. This ship used to, that little glitching anomaly there that you see with the lights, it used to be actually far worse. I will give Keen credit. Something they've been doing with the recent updates has also been resolving a lot of the oddball lighting bugs that have been going on. But also, there's another bug that this particular ship had for the longest time. Let's see if I can pull up an image of it here, because it is kind of wonky, and I've never been able to show... Actually, no, I take it back. I think I've shown these images once. And as soon as I can get them here... Video capture... Original shortcuts. Nope, not that folder. I have two folders of Space Engineers stuff going on here. Just from all of the work that I've done on the... having to reinstall everything. It's been a little bit of a pain, but let's do capture. It's gonna take a second here to get this right again. Capture, transform. Fit to screen, please. This is a screenshot I took quite a while ago, actually, and this is what happens when you try to screenshot this ship using the in-game screenshot tool. You can kind of see this was back when I was trying to shoot out the loading ramp on the bottom of the ship. This is just how screwed up Keen can get. Let me kick over... No, that's the name I'm not allowed to use anymore. That's actually another screenshot bug that I was having. The internal in-game screenshots. Another bug with the screenshots. Yeah, I'm seeing transparently through the skin of the ship. Inside, it would work just fine, though. That's why it used to be Vanguard there. Obviously not Vanguard anymore. This is some of the crap that Keen gets up to that drives me absolutely insane. Take a screenshot that way, it works. We could take a screenshot that way and it would break in-game. Very, very wonky indeed. Not so much now. Now it actually, I mean, considering this is a large grid, this game is running, well, I don't have anything else in this world, I believe. Double check that first. Yeah, the dock and the ship are the only things that exist in the world, and that's only because these guys are technically considered part of the grid. And these were designed to be, if I look the right way at them, these are two little auxiliary ships that I was going to be kind of putting into the series. This thing is ridiculously overblown for spotlights, but it's more of a camera rig at that point. And then this is actually my Super Crow, but with the wings removed on it. Actually, if I was going to work, that's one O2 generator. One of these can only power two small, yeah, this would not fly in creative. Or outside of creative. That's the only, creative is the only place this design will actually work, because there's way too much thrusters over the one H2 or the O2 generator that's there. Oh, and actually, oh hey, there's something screwy. Okay, well there's my camera count. Oh, that's right, because that's a different model cryopod and entities in there. So it was about after they fixed that I had him there. So I've still got him trapped, like in the cryopod here. Ring. You know, sim speed. How well will that hold up? For a large grid gone wild, or a small grid gone wild, that seems to be holding up pretty well. She's no Skyforge, but she definitely has it where it counts, and that is propulsion. Just trying to reverse and find the dock again. See, she's already stopped there. Alright, yeah. There, okay. That's 300 gyros worth of movement right there, going about 2 feet across my mouse mat. In case you're wondering. Majestic sails. The Red Dawn would work, because I do kind of need to have... excuse me. I do kind of need to have a little bit of... it has to kind of be a 7-letter name, really, unfortunately, to work out all that well, to fit in the same sort of spots. Why am I picking up a hostile target indicator on that? I don't have... What are you locking onto, ship? No, I have not loaded. There's no enemy mods on the... There's no, like... There's no NPCs, period, actually. But it was definitely acting like it was hot to shoot something down here. The turrets are off on this thing, which is why I know I'm not going to engage it even if I wanted to, but... Huh. Look at that. I'm going in this actually sideways at this point now. She actually does still manage to fly pretty well, all things considered. So, let's see. Worsened. No. I mean, let's be honest. As far as division of labor on this, the outside back end on the port and starboard side, this is all wasted here. This little engine arrangement here, all the way up to this point where we've got the cut. And that's because I started designing one end of the ship, and we kind of split in half, said, no, it needs to be longer. The middle section on the bottom side here, this is all entities work here. So the overview that you've got there, the windows that you can actually see into, well, not here because they're actually bricked up from the inside, but you know, the ramps and everything, that's Entity there. The hangar was kind of collaborative between Entity and myself. The bottom side, I think, was me. I can't remember Entity having much of a hand in that one. And in the front of the ship, this is all pretty much, I think, 90% me, honestly. We kind of all collaborate a little bit on the engines and the placement of the doors, but the interior and the exterior of the front is pretty much most of my work. And this is where I'm actually a little worried about on Unquap, now that we've got the armor ramps again. There is a definite issue with color coordinating here, because the armor ramps tend to have a little less saturation on their colors. Tend to come across a little darker. And you can see, like, right here, turn on my light so you can kind of really see it. It's the same color, but because of the slight variation in textures and the angle, they don't tend to match up very well color-wise sometimes. So, but yeah, this is, I think that, and yeah, this part up here was, that's some of my greebling gone wild up there. When you just can't, actually no, this is where I really went wild. Was this part of the ship. Because for some reason I was being really inspired by guitars and violins and the acoustic cutouts that you've got on them. So that's kind of what inspired this whole thing up here. The idea of, oh, maybe that's like a sensor palettes you're seeing under that, or some other sort of, you know, structural block there. That's where that came from. And here's the other reason why it's insanely powerful. These thrusters are ungodly good. But that's kind of the long-lost project, shall we say. That has never actually, until now, seen the light of public day, aside from, like I said, one image, I think, in an update parody a while ago. So, leading candidate, Red Dawn. Because really, the key thing that I'm looking for here is kind of set this back up. So let's see, if we do Red Dawn, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 characters, which is great. Because ideally, the name needs to fit between these two lights here. And what I've got, obviously, with letters is, if I spell letter right so I can get it, what we've got is, find that red again. Oh, I do have it already. Good. Actually, no, we've got 8 letters to choose from here. But Red Dawn would have a space in it, so it'd be kind of like, you know, that. Why is T on? Is it? I don't know why it changed the rotation on me, but it did. What do you think? Aren't those thrusters hydrogen? Good question. I honestly cannot remember. Let's find out. These guys up here are pure ions. They're the azimuth thrusters. These guys I know are ions. Crucial Wild Style. Then there's these guys on the side, which you should be able to see. Why is it saying I'm building all these things? Those were definitely put in by Wasted. In fact, I don't even remember that thruster being there either. But these are more azimuth thrusters. We kind of went a little hog on those. Probably saying this because it's a blueprint that I pasted in. But yeah, these are all just plain old azimuth thrusters, so they're basically the old school overpowered ions, essentially. Don't really have any hydrogen thrusters on this. I mean, it's not really even wired properly for... It's wired for making it look good, and then functionality later. So, in fact, if I go over here, you might have noticed that, you know, here's where the captain's quarters is. The mess hall's here. And then this is the section over the bridge. But then there's a whole spot in here that you'd never see. And there's a very good reason for it. It's lost space here. Because this is where the real crux of the ship is. And yes, this is before we, you know, I should really just rip these out because we don't need them anymore. The azimuth should really go in here instead. It's not wired up for survival at all. This is purely creative operation back here. And yeah, that's deck 1 of gyros. Deck 2 is down below it here, if I can angle myself. That's all gyros out to either side as well. Yes, it takes that many gyros to fly this thing, and I think I've got even more tucked. Get out of here again. Thank you, game. I'd like to leave, please. I think I've got more tucked because that's the back end of the bay there. That used to be a way into it, but then we had to put gyros in there. I think there's more actually down here. These are, yep, more of the crucials. This ship probably really wasn't designed to fly in atmosphere. Let's put it that way. Azimuths, azimuths, all over the place azimuths. Go for Red Dawn, then you need a... Oh, Boris would definitely not fit in any of these hangars. I mean, just to give you guys a little bit of size comparison here, let's pull back. I think that's the classic, which is probably not going to work all that well because we're missing blocks. Oh, thank you for that deafening foghorn, Keen. Let's see. Actually, it did load the modular thrusters in, but a... that actually kind of looks cool. I've got a different set of modular thrusters on, it looks like, on this one. One that's got a slightly different look, but actually doesn't look that bad. I'm sure this is probably one of the still hideously OP ones. Yeah. And there's the thug shutting off the power problems at that point. But as far as getting a very low mark version thug in here... Oh, this is close. Might if I took out that connector. Look at that. I'm moving the entire ship with it at this point. Keeping in mind that thruster damage is off, so that's why I'm not too worried about. I think at this point she might park and brake. Yeah. Yeah, I can't get her past that point because the spotlight is wedged on that particular... In fact, at this point, the thug is now very firmly stuck in here. I can't get it out. Which is going to be... You know, there's the interesting question, how I can get out. Okay, now, technically the Gatling gun would help if that wasn't there, but... Yeah, she's right there. That forward spotlight is stuck. But, yeah, that's... Well, I might be able to close the doors. Let's take a gamble on the dice here and see if I summon Clang by doing this. Talk about phantom forces. Come here. Oh my god. Oh, that's hilarious. Alright, I know how to fix this. Give me the entity list. Find a thug. Depower it and remove it. There we go. That just shot right out of space stock there, and went completely cattywampus too, I might add. That's space stock over there. Here's the ship over here. Oh, that's funny. There's Clang drive for you, ladies and gentlemen. That's true, genuine Clang drive. Are you even gonna open for me at this? Oh, you are. Oh, that's why. Like, why is that screwed up? It's not letting me hit the button. Well, yeah, that'd be why. Because Mr. Farrell is not remembering he needs to actually... Good grief, that doesn't look that bad right now. There's something that's lit up just barely on this side, mostly by the interior lighting. Pretty happy with how that's looking right now, actually. It's one ship. In space, a sea of stars and darkness. There we go. Open that back up. No damage. because obviously block damage off, but that would have been interesting. Block damage was on. That probably would have resulted in something, something pretty significant, I would have to guess. But yeah, this is not that big a ship. I mean, let me pull in... Oh, what do I have here that can give you guys a good compare? Well, actually, it's not going to paste right at all. Because I know there are blocks missing left and right center on this one. But just to give you guys a little bit of clarity on size and where things compare, I suspect I can probably dock her nice and easily inside of the main docking bay here. Shipyard. Oh yeah, with room to spare. Easily. Yep, no, actually her back end hangs out, so that probably... This actually makes her longer than the Musa Grandis, actually. Because I'm pretty sure... If I had a blueprint of the Musa... Yeah, the Musa can fit in this bay entirely at this point now. With the last section that I added on a while ago. So if it's not quite that big, it's rivaling it. For a small grid that size, it'd be that flyable. It's not too bad. Ares or some epic Greek god. I mean, the problem is it's not really... When you go for the god names on a ship, you're kind of looking at something that's really supposed to be more a combat ship. And this is... It's an X-combat ship. To put it simply, way back, I was kind of designing some of... optional elements. I was kind of working on the side of what things would look like. Let me paste this in. What it would look like if, what the military version of the ship would look like. Let's see what we get here. And this was kind of the concept I came up with at the time. Again, because of the sun angle, you can't see Jack Diddley squat. What is... Not a single... Actually, no, there is something over there. I don't know what it is, but it's sure as heck not a normal star. So this is kind of what I came up with when I started roughing out designs. So this is back when I actually had fixed landing gear in the front, before I kind of came up with the whole idea of a droppable array. The whole idea was this would have... It'd basically be like a marine drop ship, essentially. So what you would have is, and this was before we had, the various cutovers. So this is just a catwalk that ended there that you could jump off of, or walk down the wall in mag boots. An earlier version of the aft end, back before there was no lower deck. This is all wedged in here. Just to show you kind of some of the design evolution. But this was the idea I had originally. So you had the catwalk here, the idea being, okay, that's kind of your physical fitness area there, that you could have the crew, the Marines, kind of running around on. You still had the crew quarters up there, and they were the guys who would, that's the crew that's flying the ship. This is all your Marine living down here, basically. And behind these doors would be the drop pods for actually deploying your troops. God, I even did that with the stairs on that one. Little things that I keep forgetting that I've done. I think, do I still have... Might still have the pod for it somewhere around here. Yeah, the actual drop pod itself. Let's grab the pod dock, because this is what I was using to test everything. Let's see if I can find a brighter spot to show this. There we go. So this was the test rig for it, basically. It's based off of the same old stuff that we've seen about a million times by now, which is well, we want to have a drop pod that can shoot out through that door. I don't like the fact that that was jiggling already. That's kind of scary. This one's rigged in such a way that the clearance is like bare minimum. So at the very least, it's almost guaranteed you have to have block damage off. You can see just opening the door causes it to jump around. And the idea was, this is a simulation of the inside corridor. And basically that's your little pod right here. And you walk up to it. It's the a mech cockpit there. Apparently, game is deciding... Okay, yeah, it's... this particular door, it's a glass door, but the glass doesn't render very well. So you hop in the pod, you undock, and away you go. Obviously, some definite flaws with this particular design. The first one being that thruster damage will eventually, I believe, take off the cargo pod there. Also, apparently no gyros on this design, which is kind of amusing because, yeah, spin around and stop our movement here. Or just make it incredibly worse. But yeah, that was kind of the idea I had, and it's clad with, I mean, I believe it is actually semi-feasible in a ways for landing, just not very. Because, yeah, I did pipe it up. Small ship stuff, so we got the cargo container, we got an assembler on this thing. There's an O2 generator at the top there. Another cargo container on this side. It does have gyros, just doesn't have the braking thrust. That's the problem. Will that slow you down any, potentially? Still acting like the gyros are not working, but they are, but they aren't. Thrusters on? Come on, I'm gonna slow to a stop potentially? No, you're just gonna sit there and float. Okay. But that was the idea. You'd have something that you could launch out of, you know, pods on the underside of the ship. So that's a, you know, this is kind of showing you kind of an intermediary stage of some of the greebling. Obviously, there's no rear hull here. The porch isn't even on at this point. Because at that point, that's how I was designing it. Didn't have the drone bay on the back yet. I think everything else is more or less figured out. This before I had the... Yeah, there's... Actually, there you go. There's where we lost some of the features on the ship because of the loss of mods. The great deleting. Okay. Very hard to get around the passages on mag boots sometimes. Okay, that was the bridge before I put all the displays on it. And back when there used to be gun lockers there, those disappeared on me at one point. That's still the same. That's still the same. Slightly different texture on the mine, the ore detector there for some reason. Whatever, I don't know. That gun cabinet's still there, but yeah, it's kind of the slow build out that happened with everything here, like the original reactor room back here. So anyways, I think that is probably a good place to wrap up because I didn't get to work on a darn thing, and I know I'm gonna have to spend some time offline looking at the SBC file for my underground base to find out where did the grid go. And it did dependently on both versions, and on both versions they have the same grid in that area. So something in that grid just the game does not like, and if I can figure out whether it's actually gone because of game file corruption, which it shouldn't be, because obviously I've loaded that world in multiplayer. Well, yeah, I've loaded it in local client-based multiplayer in order to be able to film the update parody scenes I did on that. So it's not something that even the update, you know, the multiplayer update broke. It's something else entirely. And I'm gonna have to find out what happened with that, because I really was looking forward to spending a nice day just doing some basic greebling, and apparently that's not to be, unfortunately. I so need to detach the, oh, that's what we're missing, is the Atmo thrusters on the side. Yep, there's your problem. So need to find out a way to make this actually work as a fly-through dock, because it's not. Maybe I'll play around with that off camera at a later point, is kind of see what kind of mischief I can get in with the trade surplus here, because this is as it was after the shortly before we switched maps over to the new map. Anyways, guys, sorry to tie this one up quick, but unfortunately that is the way that the money goes, and that is how you kind of wind up being able to do things like streaming on YouTube, is you put in the time at work. And on that note, I'm gonna head off to work. I will catch you guys tomorrow on Waste Space channel for the next episode of PvPvP. That is looking to shape up to be pretty interesting. The Red Team and I have been discussing tactics and kind of the things we learned from the last episode. Unfortunately, we were the victim of in-game Clang, and that pretty much destroyed our chances of really being able to respond properly to the tech drop. But the good news is those are going to be a bit more random coming up and unannounced, so hopefully we'll have our chance at something interesting coming down the pike. In the meantime, we have some ideas on how to keep ourselves and potentially some of the other teams occupied. So I will see you guys tomorrow, and take it easy. Thanks for watching.